there's this huge clarion call, integrate your shadow. So why should you integrate your shadow? And so Robert Bly, in his book, in the Little Book of the Shadow, he talks about his desire to kill his other brothers. Then Robert said, but I've got to integrate that. I said to Robert, like, well, why would you want to integrate killing your brothers? Bad idea. So Robert's basic answer is, well, and I apologize for the slight off-color way of saying it, it's better to be a conscious asshole than an unconscious asshole, right? Meaning, integrate your shadow because at least you know about it, so it won't steal the driving wheel of your life. You've got all the shadow stuff, this pettiness, violence, rage, anger, right? Know that it's part of you, right? Embrace that part of you and it won't be unconscious. True, good, valuable, limited, right? No, it's deeper than that. Yes, and deep bow to Robert and deep bow to that work. But it's insufficient. No, you integrate your shadow because your shadow is not shadow, it's unique shadow. It's a core notion in the Wisdom of Solomon and Kabbalah, and that there's 2 volumes, Radical Kabbalah, Part 2, is 2,000 years of Aramaic sources on this idea, unique shadow. Right? Unique shadow means your shadow is the part of the circle of light that's in darkness, which is your disowned, your unlived unique self. So the reason you integrate it is because it's you, right? This is your unlived self, and that's why it has so much energy, right? So take jealousy, for example. I've never, just between us, this is like a lot of personal sharing here, but just between us, please don't share it with anyone, right? I've never been jealous of a ballerina. It just never happened. I've never woken up in the morning and say,
I don't believe you for one second.
I'm telling you, I promise. It's never happened. I've just never been jealous of a ballerina. But I do remember walking in to Barnes & Noble's, and I was, 26, 27, right? And this dude, who shall remain nameless, is a great person who I just spent a lot of time talking to, and I'd share with him this very deep understanding, which I thought was deep, right, about the relationship between certainty and uncertainty. And I see like his book, which is about that. So I'm bummed by 2 things. First off, hello, we just talked about this, right? And I kind of looked in the index, said, I don't show up there. Okay, that's a little shame. So we got a little jealousy going on there. And then he managed to get the book out so beautifully. We got a little jealousy going on there. So I could disown that, or I could say, oh, I'm jealous. Okay, so first, once I own the jealousy, I realize I'm jealous of someone who's living a piece of my story that I'm not living. And I had never intended to write. I don't like writing. And at that moment, I said, okay, I have to write.
That's like the power of envy revealing to us our values in a way.
That's right. It's telling, because I'm not jealous of a ballerina. So I'm jealous of someone who actually is living a dimension of my unique self that I need to live. So if I follow jealousy tantra, principle of non-rejection, I embrace the jealousy, but not to remain jealous. I actually let the jealousy go. I actually called him afterwards. I said, yo, man, first off, I was really annoyed when I saw that book. I let that go. Freaking awesome. Gorgeously done. And then I went actually the next 5 weeks and arranged 5 gigs, right? To kind of help him get the book into the world, of course. But he told me something. He said, oh, you keep saying you're not a writer. You need to write. Because if I wasn't supposed to write, I wouldn't have been jealous of it.
And that way we can pay attention to where we're being triggered and where we're jealous or have envy in our life, and maybe what aspect of it is it revealing to us that there is a unique self or dimension of our unique self, like you said, that we want to embody and step into more.
Triggers disclose one of 2 things. Triggers are either pathology or prophecy. So there's one kind of trigger, which is it's a trigger because that's what my mother did. That's my early traumas. That's one kind of trigger. You're pointing, I think, absolutely beautifully and correctly to a second kind of trigger, which is not pathology. It's prophecy, meaning it's a memory of my future. It's not a memory of my past pathology. It's a memory of my future. I'm triggered here because it's trying to trigger me into action to activate that dimension of my unlived unique self, which is my unique shadow.
I need to ask more about the unique shadow because it feels like, and I want to get your perspective on the path to arriving and discovering our unique self, and therefore the unique gifts that we have to share with our unique obligation on the planet. The unique shadow and unique wound almost serve in a way like we're entrusted by the universe to have the friction necessary to go on the path to discover who we are by virtue of having the experience of who we're not. And so I would love for you just to share about there's gifts that are born out of conditioning, like the skill sets that we get from, for example, maybe having the experience or wound or belief that we're not enough, or like you might become really skilled at navigating people and networking and organization. And There's many different ways and things that come online by virtue of the shadow and the wounds. And so, perspective on how we may be entrusted with that.
It's good. Yeah. No, it's good. It's good. Unique shadows is such a big deal. It's such a big deal because there's so much talk about shadow work, but as long as you're trying to integrate your jealousy and your rage, you're like, what am I doing? Yes. So we need to get this unique shadow thing. Let me see if I can tell you a crazy story. Here's a crazy story. So true story. Two versions. Two, perhaps even two short stories to really just, because we need to make this real, right?
Yeah.
All of this is just words until we learn it in the stories of our lives. So we need to make this real. So this is a true story. I'm in Germany, a particular town, and I'm first developing this unique shadow idea. It's X amount of years ago. And it was this seminar, and there was this one guy at the seminar who was just a gorgeous guy. I've had a daughter, of his age. I'd say, oh, set this guy up. It turned out he was gay. So he said to me, I told him this. I said, you're a guy. He said, I'm no, sorry. So I said, okay. And he's funny, and he was charming, and he was sweet, and he was poignant, and he was vulnerable. And I start doing the unique shadow thing, and he gets like very edgy. He's like not happy with this. So I say, okay. He raises his hand. Let me share with you my unique shadow. So he says, my unique shadow is, and I'm saying directly, he says, I go to parties, and I do too much meth, and then I do too much meth and fisting together, which is a particular kind of sexuality. I'm like, whoa, okay.
It's a wild combination.
That's a combination. So my first response to him was, I said, why is that shadow? So the whole place laughs. So he says, right? He says, because I do too much. I said, okay. I said, okay, we got that. Okay, do too much. Okay, so I said, so tell us what you do. And the rest of the time, he says, well, I'm a therapist. I said, okay, tell us about your practice. So he starts describing this practice, how he holds people and they feel embraced by him and they feel safe and they walk and they feel comfortable. I said, wow, that's nice. I said, so do you challenge your people? He says, well, I do, but very gently and tenderly. I said, interesting. So the room is like getting what's going on and he's not, right? And we just get to this point. I say, oh, so basically you're not willing to penetrate your client with your real insight. He said, no, I can't do that. I said, oh, so you do a lot of meth and fisting, don't you? Right? And the whole, right, we all got it and he got it. It was like, oh, right? So here I am, I'm this therapist, right? I'm really smart, I'm really loving, I have penetrating insight, but I'm afraid to give it. So I disown and I split off this major dimension of myself. And so it has to emerge as shadow, and the shadow's not meth and fisting, it's too much. And he knows it's too much just because, not because someone told him, because he knows. So it's a great example of unique shadow, right? And the nature of unique shadow is clearly his unique shadow was a distortion of his unique self. And his unique self was, he was this beautiful therapist with deep capacity for holding and penetration, line and circle. He had disowned his line quality. He was therapying with his circle quality. He needed to actually penetrate them together. He couldn't do it, so it split off into this other kind of penetration. Right? So you get, and knowing my unique shadow is kind of finding that, right, that place in myself, which is unique shadow. There's lots of stories, but it's the same frame. And unique shadow always is the yellow brick road to my unique self. Always. It's never not.